Hello, welcome to this episode where we shall be looking at the proposed memorandum for the grade 11's November examinations, mathematics, paper 1. Okay, so the paper is 3 hours. We have 9 questions that we need to work on. All the other instructions are just the norm. 1.1. I want us to solve for x. So 2x into x minus 5 over 2 equals to 7. Step number 1, we need to open up this bracket and create a standard form. So that's going to be 2x squared minus, that's going to be 5x. Let's move the 7 that side is equal to 0. Okay, we can open our brackets or you can use your quadratic formula. So 2x and x, for us to get a 7, we can have a 7 and a 1. Now, since I need a minus by the middle part, which means the minus can be there, and that's a plus. Okay, if I open this up, 2x squared plus, okay, perfect. Mean that this first bracket is going to give me x as a 7 over 2, or this bracket is going to give me x as a negative 1. All right, then 1.1.2. We have x squared minus 15x minus 4 is equal to 0, round off to decimal places. So automatically, we need to use the quadratic formula. And with this quadratic formula, we know that our a is going to be a 1, our b is going to be a negative 15, and then our c is going to be a negative 4. So we know that negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by twice a. So minus minus going to be a 15 plus minus square root of negative 15 squared minus 4. The a is a 1, the c is a negative 4 divided by 2 times 1. Okay, so when we punch this into the calculator, okay, this is minus 4 is equal to 0. So the answers I'm getting, the first value is a negative 0.26, or x is a 15.26. So those are the two answers for the 3 marks. All right, then 1.1.3. Okay, I'll write it this side. It's a 2 minus square root. That's 14 minus x is equal to x. So step number 1, isolate the root. Let's move the 2 that side. So that's a 14 minus x is equal to x minus 2. And then we need to square either side. So this squared and then that side squared. Meaning that we're going to have a 14 minus x. Opening this square bracket is going to be x squared minus 4x plus 4. Move everything to one side so that we create a standard equation. X squared minus 4x plus x is going to give me a minus 3x. And then 4 minus 14 is going to give me a negative 10 is equal to 0. Open your brackets or quadratic formula. I'll have a 5 and then I'll have a 2. Negative and a positive. I think that would make sense. Yes. So this will give me a positive 5. This bracket will give me a negative 2. But then since I'm having a square root, I have to test my answers. Okay. So with testing the answers, if I substitute a 5 there, it's going to be 2 minus square root of 14 minus 5 is a 9. So square root of 9 is a 3. So 2 minus 3 gives me a negative 1. And then we said x must be a 5. So these two are not corresponding. I'll cross that out and say it's not a solution. If I try with negative 2, it's going to be 2 minus 14 minus minus. That's a 16. Okay. And then that square root of 16 is a 4. So 2 minus 4 gives us a negative 2, which is the x here. So that is the solution of interest. Okay. Then 1.1.4. We need to get rid of this exponent. Okay, you can express this 8 as a base of 2. So it's going to be x to the negative 3 over 2 is equal to the exponent of 3. Now, when I'm eliminating that exponent, I'll use the reciprocal. Okay, so I'll say multiplied by negative 2 over 3, multiplied by negative 2 over 3. So this becomes just 1x. And then we're going to have 2 to the exponent of negative 2, which becomes a 1 over 4. And then 1.1.5, why does this paper look familiar? These questions look familiar. It's okay. Let's not worry about the familiarity of the questions. Let's just deal with the solutions. So we have square root of x minus 5. Is it minus plus? It's a minus. Okay. 3 over square root of x minus 5 is equal to negative 2. So what I'm going to say is let y be equivalent to the x minus 5. So that's going to be y minus 3 over y must give us a negative 2. And then let's multiply through by the y. So that's going to be y squared minus 3 is equal to negative 2y. Let's move this to that side. So it's a y squared plus 2y minus 3 is a 0. And then we factor this out. So it's a y, I'll say plus 3, y minus 1. So either y is a negative 3 or y is a 1. But the question never talked about y. Their focus is on x. Then let's replace y with the square root. So we have root x minus 3 is equal to negative 3. Okay, no, it's minus 5. Okay, x minus 5 is that. Then square both sides. So x minus 5 is going to be a 9. Move the 5 that side, which means x is a 14. Alternatively, root of x minus 5 gives us a 1. When you square both sides, x minus 5 is a 1. X becomes just a 6. One point 1.6, which is the inequality. Okay, so it's going to be x squared minus 4x plus 4. This looks like a square. Okay. So if I open this bracket of mine, it's going to be like x minus 2 is greater than 0. Okay. Then my critical value is just 1, x being a 2. Okay. So if this is a parabola, simply means we're having something like that. Now they're asking us for the values of x where the graph is above the x-axis. I mean, to that side and to that side. But then x is not going to be 2. So one can easily say that x is an element of real numbers. X should not be a 2, meaning that it can swing to the right and to the left. Or someone can say x is greater than 2 or x is less than 2. So those are the solutions and how they could have been represented. Alternatively, we can have this, and then you do the shading that side and the shading on that other side. Okay, and then 1.2, solve for x and y simultaneously. So from the first equation 1, equation 2, I'll make y the subject, move it that side, meaning that y is going to be 2x minus 2. Call this equation 3. And then if I have 1 over x, okay, minus 3y is equal to 1. But my y is 2x minus 2. Let me substitute. So 1 over x minus 3 into 2x minus 2 is equal to 1. 1 over x minus 6x plus 6 is equal to 1. Multiply through by x, so 1 minus 6x squared plus 6x is equal to x. If I move this one that side, I'm going to have a negative 6x squared plus 5x plus 1 equals to 0. We can divide through by negative 6. So that it is 6x minus 5x minus 1 is equal to 0. Open the brackets. How do we get the 6? How do we get the 5? So if I use 6x and x, and then 1 and 1, if I put the negative and the plus, I think that would make sense, meaning that x is going to be negative 1 over 6, or x is a 1. Then let's replace these values into there. So meaning that the first y is going to be 2 times negative 1 over 6, okay, minus 2, which gives me, oops, just a moment, that's negative 2 over 6. Okay, we're subtracting a 2, which is a 2,333, which is a negative 7 over 3. So if x is a 1, then our y is going to be a 0. So that is what the question needed. And then 1.3, if x is this, okay, these are the roots of this. They want us to get the values of a and b. So negative 3, okay, plus or minus square root of 8. Ax squared bx minus 8. Is it minus or plus? It's a minus. Okay. And those are roots. We need to use the intercept method and say that if y is negative 3 plus root 8, and then negative 3 minus root 8, what does this give us? Gives us something like a difference of z2 squares. Looks like. Okay. But why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? Something is off here. I must use the x's. So I'm going to say x minus the whole of this. So this together with the negative 3. Saying minus 3. But why should I even go via this route? How many marks is this question? It's 5 marks now. Which means A is a 1. But then what's going to be the B? Because I want to use the nature of roots approach. Okay. But this is also something that we can use. Say 3 plus 3 minus root 8. Okay, so if we open this up, let's see. Let's just confirm and see if the 8 will come out the way we want it. Okay, this and that is going to be x squared. This and that is going to be a negative 3 minus root 8. This is x. This and that is going to be a negative. So which means I'll just say 2 because it's the same bracket, okay? And then plus, when I multiply this bracket and this bracket, it's like a difference of 2 squares, okay? Meaning that it's a negative 3 squared minus root 8 squared. Okay, let's open up bit by bit. Negative 3 and negative 3 gives us a 9. This and that's going to be a plus 3 root 8. This and this is a minus 3 root 8. Root 8 and root 8 gives us just 8. Okay, meaning that I'm going to be left with a 9 plus 8, which is like a 17. Which does not come out the way they wrote their 8 here. So let me try to use the nature of roots. Okay, we know that negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus twice ac, no, it's minus 4ac divided by twice a. But based on what we have, This is more like a 1. Okay. Meaning that our twice A is a 1. Does that mean that A is a half? I'm trying to make sense out of this. And then does that mean that negative B is the same as negative 3, which means B is a 3? Okay, if B is a 3, let me try to use the same approach and try to find for, or try to look for C, or substitute these numbers and see if I'm going to get this 8. So our B is a 3, so 3 squared minus 4 times a half multiplied by the C, which is 8, which is not going to make sense though. Okay, so let's approach it this way. Okay, this is fine, but I would I can maybe add the A there and then do the substitution and simplify that. Okay, but if the first root is x minus, and this one is x minus, what does this mean? Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Maybe we can use a different approach, knowing that if we need the sum of the roots, okay, that's going to be the first root and the second root. We must get negative b over a. And then if I talk of the product of the roots, okay, so r1 times r2, that must give me c over a. But now the question already gave us the c value to be negative 8. So what does that mean? That if we try to do the addition of negative 3 plus root 8, okay, plus a negative 3 minus root of 8, this must give us a negative b over a. So when you add this up, the only answer we are getting is a negative 6, being negative b over a. So b is going to be 6 times of a. I'll call this equation 1. And then from the product part of it, okay, well, we said negative 3 plus root 8, and then negative 3 minus root of 8 should give us the c, which is a negative 8 over a. So multiplying this and that's going to be a 9. That's going to be a plus. That's going to be a minus. So 9 minus 8. Okay, this should give us negative 8 over a. 9 minus 8 is a 1, meaning that a is going to be a negative 8. And then if we replace this a by that part b, meaning that's going to be 6 times negative 8, which is going to be a negative 48. Okay, so that is what we are ending up with for that particular question. All right, then question number 2, simplify the following without a calculator. So step number 1, we need to factorize. So take 3m out. We're going to be left with a 1 minus 3 over, take 3m out, it's going to be a 4 minus 1. So this cancels that. That's going to be a negative 2 over 3. That should be our answer. And then inside here, let's open up the square bracket. We know that root 20 squared is going to be a 20 minus 2 times root 20 times root of that, which becomes root 100, plus root 5 squared is just a 5. So 20 plus 5 gives us a 25 minus square root of 100 is 10. So 10 times 2 is going to be a 20. So the answer becomes a 5 as well. And then can we show that this is the same as this? So we're going to rationalize the left-hand side. So it's going to be t minus 4 over root t plus 2. So multiply this by root t minus 2 into root t minus 2. You open the top, it's going to be t and that, which becomes a t root t. This and this is minus 2t minus 4 root t. And then that's a plus what? Plus 8 over. At the bottom is a difference of 2 squares, which is just going to be a t squared. No, it's just a t, sorry. So it's a t minus 4. Okay, so do we have any like terms? We have this and that. Okay, so if I try to do the grouping of it, it's going to be a root t into a t minus 4. Okay, and then this one and that, I'll take out the minus 2 into a t minus 4. Everything is over t minus 4. Then take out the t minus 4. I'll be left with root t minus 2 over t minus 4. So this cancels that, and then that is what they wanted to rationalize and rationalize. And then 2.3. A rectangle has the length and the breadth to be this much. Determine the maximum area. So 3x plus 5. Okay, and then x with minus x plus 3. So 3x plus 5 minus x plus 3. Okay, so let's multiply this to get the area, because we know that area is length times the width. So 3x plus 5, then minus x plus 3. So that's going to be minus 3x squared plus 9x minus 5x plus a 15. Simplify this, which is going to be a 4x plus 15. So this is a parabola. But for us to get the maximum value, okay, this formula represents the area. We know that maximum, we can get the turning point negative b over twice a, which is going to be negative 4 over 2 times negative 3. So it's a 4 over 6, which becomes pretty much a 2 over 3. So where x is 2 over 3, that's where we get our maximum. So we're going to say that area maximum can be obtained when negative 3 is, we substitute x with a 2 over 3 plus 4 into 2 over 3, and then you add the 15. So when I punch this into my calculator, okay, so punch this into the calculator, we're going to have negative 3 into 2 over 3, but that is squared, plus 4 into 2 over 3, okay, and then plus 15. That gives me 49 over 3 units squared. So that becomes the maximum area. All right, then question number 3, which is the number patterns, are telling us that given the finite sequence, okay, sequence that comes to an end, write down the next 2 terms. So if this is a 19, we are subtracting a 5. We are subtracting a 5, which means you minus a 5, we're going to end up with a 4. You minus a 5, you're going to get a negative 1. Then determine the nth term. So this is an arithmetic, so it's going to be negative 5 with n. What is 19 minus minus 5? So that's the same as 19 plus 5, which gives us a 24. Okay. And then how many terms are there in the sequence? So the last term is negative 2 to 6. So where there is tn, replace with the negative 2 to 6, 5n plus 24. So move this 24 that side. Negative 2 to 6 minus 24 gives me negative 250. So negative 5n is equal to negative 250. Divide both sides by negative 5. Okay, what does n give us? So we are dividing by 5, which means we have 50 terms. And then 3.1.4, calculate the value of the 12th term of the odd numbered system. So if I look at the odd numbers, okay, because we say there's going to be a 4 here, and then from 4 to minus 5, you're going to get a negative 6. Okay, so looking at the odd numbered system, it's a 14, a 4, negative 6. So we are basically subtracting 10. Now, there's one way of doing it. Okay, if you're talking of the 12th term of the odd numbered sequence, not the 12th term of the pattern itself. Okay, I'm gonna look at it in two ways. So if I'm to look for the Tn of that pattern, it's gonna be negative 10n. 14 minus is gonna be plus 24. Then since you're looking for 12th term, it's gonna be negative 10 times 12 plus 24. So negative 120 plus a 24, which becomes a negative 96. Now, alternatively, if you're to use the general term that we found, we know that the 12th term of the odd numbered is going to be like the 24th or 25th term. Okay, so if I find the 24th term of this pattern, so negative 5, okay, times 24 plus a 24. So negative 5 times 24 plus a 24, it gives me negative 96. Why is it the 24th? Because this is in between, which means you have the odd and even. So the 12th term will be in position number 24. All right, then 3.2, determine the value of the 7th and 11th terms of a linear pattern. Oh, the value of the 7th and the 11th is 5 and the 21. Determine the value of the first term and the common difference. So T5 or T7, T11. Okay, so T7 is 5, T11 is 21. They want us to get the value of the first term and the common difference for 4 marks. Okay, so what am I going to do here? Let me use the Tn is equal to A plus n minus 1 into D. Okay, in as much as I'm not supposed to use this. So 5 is going to be A plus, that's going to be 7 minus 1, which is a 6D. And then 21 is going to be A plus 11 minus 1, which is a 10D. And then I'll subtract these two. So 5 minus 21 comes negative 16. That's a 0, negative 4D. Divide both sides by negative 4, meaning that the D is a 4. And then I'll replace this D into one of the equations to find my A. So if I use the first one, 5 is equal to A plus 6 times 4, meaning that A is going to be a 5 minus a 24. Okay, 5 minus 24 gives me negative 19. So my first term is a negative 19. Then my common difference is just a 4. Okay, so that is question number 3. Question number 4, we have the quadratic pattern. They need the next two terms. So this is a plus 5, and then a plus 8, and then a plus 11. This is going to be a 3 and a 3. So if you add a 3 there, it's going to be a 14. So 31 plus 14, that's going to be 45. Plus 3 is going to be 17. So 45 plus 17, that becomes a 62. So our next two terms will be 45 and 62. And then they want us to get the general term. So what we know is that this 3 should be equated to the 2a, the 5 should be equated to the 3a plus b, the 7 should be a plus b plus c. So we start and say that 2a is 3, divide both sides by 2, a is 3 over 2. And then 3a plus b should be a 5. Okay, so 3 times 3 over 2, that's going to be a 9 over 2 plus b is a 5, meaning that b is going to be 5 minus 9 over 2, and that becomes just a half, because 10 minus 9 over 2, which is a half. Yeah? Then for us to get the c, remember we said a plus b plus c must give us a 7. So a plus b plus c becomes a 7, so 3 over 2 plus a half plus c is a 7. So this gives us a 4 over 2, which is a 2, meaning that c is a 5. So meaning that our Tn is a 3 over 2n squared plus 1 over 2n plus a 5. Then determine the smallest value of the pattern if this is the value that we have. Now, when they ask for the smallest value, they are technically looking for the minimum value. Okay. Now, how do we determine the minimum? All we have to do is get the negative b over 2a. And then this is going to be negative over half divided by 2 times 3 over 2. Okay, when I punch this into my calculator, so we have a negative, but 0.5 over 2 times a 1.5. Then I'm getting a negative 1 over 6. So when x is a negative 1 over 6, that's when we are getting our minimum value. Then let's do the substitution into the general term and see that 3 over 2 into negative 1 over 6 squared, okay, plus 1 over 2 times negative 1 over 6 plus a 5. Okay, so negative 1 over 6, we are squaring that. Then minus, I'll say just 1 over 12. Okay, and then I'm adding 5. So this becomes 119 over 24, which is 4.95, meaning that the fourth term needs to be the minimum. Does that make sense? But 4 will be an understatement if I'm to round it off that way. So I will just rather round it off to 5. Okay, so then 5 becomes the lowest value of interest, or the minimum value. Then for which values of n will Tn be decreasing? So when Tn is decreasing, okay, it means that the entire function, is it less than 0? Is the entire function less than 0? Okay, let's see. If we are to solve this, yeah, let's say I equate this to 0 because this is an opening. Okay, what I saw or what I need is just this turning point here. And we said this value is a negative 1 over 6. Okay. And what does that mean? It simply means that if I'm to look for the values for the decreasing part, is this area from here to basically the left-hand side. Okay. So since we found our Tn to be that, for which n values? Okay. So we shall just have to say that x must be less than negative 1 over 6. For as long as x is less than 1 over 6, then the function is going to be decreasing. Okay, then question number 5, we are given the functions, the hyperbola and the exponential. Write down the asymptotes of f, meaning that x is going to be a 4, y is going to be a 1. And then the range of g, so since this is an asymptote, Okay, simply means that y needs to be greater than -4. They want us to get the x and the y intercepts of f and g. So let's see. If I look at f, we know that for the x-intercept, y is going to be a 0. Let's move the one that side, so -1 multiplied by the denominator should give us a -2. Opening up, negative x plus 4 gives us -2. Negative x should be a -6, meaning that x is going to be a 6. So this is the x-intercept. And then the y-intercept, we said x is a 0. So when you put a 0 here, you're going to end up with just a half plus 1, which gives you 3/2. Okay, so 0, 3/2, 6, and a 0. Then let's look at g. Okay, for y-intercept, x is a 0. Okay, y-intercept, so it's going to be a half to the 0 minus 4, which gives us a -3. And then for the x-intercept, y is a 0, so I'll have 4 is equal to 1/2 to the x. This is going to be a 2 squared, 2 to the -x, meaning that x must be -2. Okay, so that is how I would have worked out the intercepts, both for the x and the y for the two graphs. Then they want us to sketch. Okay, so if this is our x, this is our y. Let's start with a g, or let's start rather with a f. So x -4, we say it's going to be x4, which is somewhere there. And then y1, which is up here. Okay. And then the intercepts we got, remember our a is negative, so it should be quadrant 2 and 4. The intercepts, we have a 6 and a 0. 6 and 0 can be somewhere here, meaning that you're going to sketch something of that nature. Okay. And then the other one is 0, 3/2. 3/2 is like 1,5, which can be somewhere there. And then we sketch our f. Why is this thing so... Okay, so... And then we're saying that is f. Then let me use a green just to get the g. G is exponential. The asymptote is -4. So -4 is quite below. Okay, so if that is my -4, we say the y-intercept is a -3, somewhere there. And then the x-intercept, we said it's a -2, which can be somewhere here. So meaning that my graph should be decreasing in this sort of format. Okay, so that is a g. Okay, then determine the equation of the axis of symmetry of f with a negative gradient. So that will be y is -x plus c. The points of intersection of the asymptotes is a 4 and a 1. Okay, so where there is x, I'll put a 4. Where there is y, I'll put a 1. Move the -4 that side, meaning that c is a 5. So the equation should become -x plus a 5. And then the graph of f is shifted 3 units down and 2 units to the left. Okay, we're moving it 2 units to the left, meaning that this asymptote here is now going to be by a 2 here. Okay, so they want us to determine the range at the domain. So let's start by getting the equation of h. So it was a -2 over x. Now we're going to have a 2. Okay, we're moving it 3 units down. So this one is going to be at -2 here. Okay. Now, since they want domain and range, we know that the domain, which is the x values, x is an element of real numbers, x is not going to be a 2. When it comes to the range, y is going to be an element of real numbers, but y should not be a negative 2. So this is basically what they needed with 5.6. Then question number 6. E is a point, which is a turning point for the parabola with the y-intercept at C and the x-intercepts at A and B. The graph of G is x minus 4. Both have x-intercepts at B. ST is parallel to the y. They want us to get the coordinates of B. So when you look at B, we have two graphs that are passing through B. Let's use the straight line that we know. So let's replace y with a 0. So meaning that it's going to be 0 is equal to x minus 4, meaning that x is going to be a 4. So B is just a 4 and 0. 6.2, hence write down the coordinates of A. So if this is a 4 and 0, but this is a midpoint or the axis of symmetry, which is a 1. So it indicates that we have 3 units, meaning that we must also have 3 units that side. So this is 1 unit already, and then we're going to have 2. So A is going to be negative 2 and 0. And then 6.3, they want the average gradient between E and B. Man, this paper looks familiar. It's like we've done these questions before. Gradient of E and B is going to be change in Y over change in X. So we're going to have a 9 minus 0 over 1 minus 4. That's a 4 over negative 3, which becomes just a negative 3. Then determine the equation of the parabola. So equation of the parabola is going to be okay, then determine the equation. So what we're going to do, we're going to use the turning point method, okay, whereby we know that y is going to be a into x plus q squared, plus p squared, then plus q. And then we're going to have our a into x, our p is a 1, so that's going to be a minus 1 squared plus 9. And then let's get in a point, let's use 4 and 0. You can use negative 2 and a 0. I'll use the 4 and 0. So it's going to be a into 4 minus 1. That's going to be 3 squared plus 9 is equal to 0. Let's move that one that side. So 9 is going to be 9a, meaning that a is going to be just a negative 1, because that's a negative 9. So a is a negative 1. Then when you punch it back, okay, y is going to be negative 1 into x minus 1 squared plus 9. You open this up, it's going to be x squared minus 2x plus 1, and then plus 9. So it's a negative x squared plus a 2x minus 1 plus 9. So it's negative x squared plus 2x plus 8. And then this becomes our final answer. Okay, so then, yeah, which means C is going to be 8. And then that's our, yeah, perfect. Then calculate the coordinates of D. Where is D? D is a point where the two graphs are meeting. So when two graphs are meeting, the two equations must be equated to each other. So meaning that negative x squared plus 2x plus 8 should be equivalent to x minus 4. Okay, let's solve this. Create a standard equation, negative x squared plus x plus 12 is 0. Divide through by the negative, x squared minus x minus 12 is a 0. When you open your brackets, I'm going to have x minus 4, x plus 3. So either x is a 4 or x is a minus 3. But looking at D, we know that D is on the negative side. So our focus must be on the negative 3. Then let's use the equation of the line, x minus 4, and get what y is. So it's going to be negative 3 minus 4, which gives us a negative 7. Therefore, D is a negative 3 and a negative 7. Okay, the coordinates of D. Yeah, perfect. Then get the maximum distance between S and T. So distance between S and T, which graph is above, is the F. Then we're going to subtract. So negative, so we're going to say F minus G of X. So this becomes the distance between the two graphs. Negative X squared plus 2X plus 8 minus the X minus 4. Opening up, negative X squared plus 2X plus 8 minus X plus a 4. Then you simplify, plus X plus 12, which is just the same as this. Now, if this gives us the distance between, they want us to get the maximum. So with maximum, still X is negative B over twice A. So negative 1 over 2 times negative 1. When X is a half, that's when we are getting the maximum height or the biggest difference between the two. But they want that distance. So let's replace this a half into that equation. So negative with a half squared plus a half plus 12. Okay, so if I punch that into my calculator, oops, we want the calculator. Okay, so that's going to be a negative 0.25 plus a half plus 12. That becomes 12.25 units. Or someone can call it 49 over 9. No, 49 over 4 units. So that or that. Okay, so then 6.7. For which values of x will negative f of x be less than the g of x? So when we talk of a negative f of x, it's like the f being flipped around. Okay, because that's going to be now the negative after the reflection. They're asking us, where do we find this graph of f, the flipped one, to be below the straight line? So it's just between these points of intersection. So you're going to say that negative 3 should be less x, should be less than 4. So that's the region where this graph is below. Okay, so that brings us to the end of question 6. Then question number 7, they want us to get the effective rate of interest, the effective rate of interest of an investment that offers 8.75%, okay, compounded quarterly. So we know from our formula that 1 plus I effective is equivalent to 1 plus I nominal over n to the exponent of n. And then this is going to be a 1 plus, okay, why don't I just say I effective is going to be 1 plus the 8.75, which is going to be 0.0875 over quarterly to the exponent of 4 minus 1. Okay, just punch everything at once in the calculator. So remember, the answer we get should not be far away from the 8.75, just around that figure. So 1 plus, saying 0.0875 over 4 to the exponent of 4, and then we are subtracting a 1. Okay, so I'm getting 0.0904 something. Okay, when I multiply that by 100, this gives me a 9.04%, which is just around the 8.75 mark. 7.2, the value of a car depreciates on a reducing balance method at the rate of this. Calculate the trade value after 5 years if the current value is 180. So A is P into 1 minus I to the exponent of n. So 180,000 into 1 minus, this is going to be 0.1125 to the exponent of 5. Okay, punching that into the calculator, 1 minus, we say 0.1125 to the exponent of 5. So the trade value I'm getting is 99109.28. Okay, so that is what I end up with. And then 7.2.2, they're telling us that at the same time, the inflation rate over 5 years is 12.7%. How much will it cost to replace the same car if the trade value is used as a down payment? So meaning that the 180 must grow using the compound interest, which is the 12.7% to the exponent of 5. So inflation is part of the compound interest. So 180,000 into 1 plus the 12.7%, or you can divide by 100 to the exponent of 5. And this gives me 327,259.37. Okay, so if in 5 years' time the car is going to be costing much, now if we are using the 99,000 as a down payment, meaning that we're going to subtract 99,109.28. Okay, so let's subtract that 99,109.28. That gives me 228,150.09. So that is what I would have ended up with in that case. Okay, so that is question 7.2. And then question 7.3, they're asking us to look at Grace's investment of this much at the rate of 9.67 compounded monthly. But after 2 years, the interest rate changed to a 9% compounded quarterly. And then she withdrew 7,000. 4 years after the initial deposit, she made another deposit of 10,000. Calculate the value of the investment after 7 years. So this is a timeline kind of scenario. So initially it's a 0. And then after 2 years, okay, so between 0 and 2 years, we have 9.67. Okay, and then from the 2 years up to the 7 years, the interest remains the same as 9%. This is monthly, this is quarterly. Okay, and then she started with 38,500, and then after 2 years, the interest changed quarterly, and she withdrew 7,000. So 7,000 is out. And then 4 years after the initial deposit was made, so on the 4th year here, there is another 10,000 that is invested. They want the value after 7 years. Okay, so there is 2 ways to this. Okay, number one, okay, let me put it this side. We are saying it's a 3,8,500. Okay, and then we're gonna have a 9.67. That is year 2. Okay, and then there's a 4 and probably a 7, and then the interest that side. There was a 7,000 taken, there was a 10,000 deposited. Okay, I think that's all the information we have. Oh, there's a monthly. This is quarterly. The quarterly one is 9%. Okay. So like I said, there are steps. Number one, we can look at what the 3,8,500 would become. Okay, after the 7 years, what the 7,000 would become, what the 10,000, and then we just do the additions of everything at once. So if I do that, I'll have the 3,8,500. Someone's going to grow for the first 2 years. So 1 plus 9.67 over 12 to the exponent of 12 times 2. Okay. Then From there, I'm going to subtract the 7,000. Then the answer that I'm going to get, it's going to grow for another 2 years using the 9%. So 1 plus 9% over 4 to the exponent of 2 times 4. Okay. And then we plus the 10,000. And then whatever is left is going to grow with the 9% again. But for how long? It's for the remaining 3 years. So it's a 3 times 4. So if I can punch all this in the calculator while respecting the brackets, I should be able to get the answer. Like I said, alternatively, go bit by bit, break down the answers and get what you need to get. So 3,800 into 1 plus, we have 9.67%. I'm dividing this by 12. Okay, we're saying to the exponent of, I'll say 24 rather. We are subtracting a 7,000. I'll close that bracket, open another bracket. Okay, how am I opening my brackets here? Okay, so there are 2 brackets there. I think that is... are these brackets not going to confuse me? Nope, something is off here. Something's off. Something's off. Why don't I rather go step by step just to avoid the confusion? But that's the approach. Okay, it's fine. Let me just go step by step and we see. So at this point, up to the subtraction of the 7,000, how much will be there? We have the 39,678, I'll say 476. Okay. Now this amount needs to grow for the 2 years before the... If not, let me just take it once to the 7 years, which is going to be 5. So 39,678, 476, 1 plus, that's 9 over 100. No, I'll say 9 over 400 since it's quarterly. Okay, to the exponent of 5 times 4. Then plus, this is going to be the 10,000, which is going to grow for 3 years. 1 plus 9 over 400 to the exponent of 3 times 4. Okay, so 39678, 476 into 1 plus, we're saying 9% over 4 to the exponent of 20. Okay, because 5 times 4 is 20. We are adding a 10,000 into 1 plus. That's going to be still 9% over 4. This is going to be to the exponent of 12. So meaning that I'm going to end up with a 74,979,13. So this is how much is going to be in the account after the 7-year period. Okay, so 74, somebody would round it to 75 depending on how the rounding is being. All right, question number 8, which is probability. They're telling us that a bag contains 8 silver balls and 7 black balls. Okay. A ball is thrown from the bag at random and the color is recorded and it is set aside. So we are picking without any replacement. Then we pick the second ball. They want us to draw a tree diagram. Okay. So with the tree diagram, the first ball can be a silver. The other precious color is black. Okay. Black is beauty. Yeah? Then it can be a silver or a black, silver or a black. So we know that in total we have 8 plus 7, which is 15 balls. Okay. Now, when I look at the silver, it's going to be 8 over 15. This is 7 over 15. Now, if the first ball picked was a silver, the silvers are going to reduce to 7, and the total will reduce to 14. The blacks are still going to be the same. If the first ball was a black, then the blacks will reduce to 6 over 14. The silvers will still stay intact. So the outcomes are silver and silver, silver and black, black and silver, black and black. So there is our tree diagram for the 5 marks, because they say show the possible outcomes and the probabilities. There we go. Then 8.1.2, determine the probability that the balls drawn have different colors. So for different colors, we have silver black and then black silver. So it's going to be 8 over 15 times 7 over 14 plus 7 over 15 times 8 over 14. So we multiply those two, plus them together, and let's see. So it's the same as 8 over 15 times 7 over 14. Okay, I'll just say times 2. So this gives me 8 over 15. Then 8.1.3, write down the probability of picking a white ball. The answer is a 0. We're dealing with black and silver. There are no white balls there. Then 8.2, probability of A is this, B is this, and A or B is this. They want us to represent this in a Venn diagram. Okay, so this is going to be our Venn diagram. Nice and easy. So we don't know what the intersection is. Okay, so I'll call it X. Then A is going to be 0.35 minus X. B is going to be a 0.4 minus X. But the total of all the circles is 0.65. So when I subtract from 1, I'm going to get a 0.35. Okay, something like that. So this is our Venn diagram. Then they want us to get the intersection, the A and B. We can use the rule or the formula A of B is equivalent to probability of A plus the probability of B minus the A and B. So A or B is a 0.65. The A was a 0.3, the B was a 0.4, the intersection was a 0.65. So this becomes a 0.7. Why are you saying 0.65? That's what we're looking for, bruh. So probability of A and B. So 0.7 subtract 0.65 is going to give us a 0.05. Okay, so negative 0.05 is equal to the negative probability of A and B. So meaning that our probability of A and B becomes a 0.05. Okay. And then question number 9. Below is a table that shows the number of males and females that own cell phones in a grade at a certain school. Okay, so we have 65 males. Cell phones are 59, no cell phones 60. Females, we have 50 that own cell phones and then 3 that don't. Total is that. Are the events being male and having a cell phone independent? So we're going to say that male and a phone is going to be the same as probability of male times the probability of having a phone. So how many males have cell phones? It's 59 over 118. Probability of male is going to be 65 over 118 times probability of a cell phone is going to be 59. No. It's going to be 109 over 118. So on our left-hand side, it's going to be a 59 over 118, which becomes 0.5. And then to the right, 65 over 118 times 109 over 118. That becomes a 0.508. Now, it looks more or less the same, but it's not, because when you round off, this will be a 0.51. Okay, they did not tell us how we should round off. Had it been that we're rounding off to the nearest first decimal, then yes, they were going to be independent. So we're going to say there are 4 events are not independent. Reason, these two are not the same. All right, guys, so that brings us to the end of this paper. I wish you guys all the best in your revision for those that have not written. And then for those that are done and preparing for paper 2, let's meet then.